They're here for me. The CEO's whisper barely made it past the clink of crystal and silverware, but it sent a chill through the air. She stood frozen in her satin evening gown, her hand clutched tightly by the janitor beside her, a broad-shouldered man in a stained jumpsuit with a mop bucket still dripping beside him. No one had even noticed him before. But now, all eyes were on him. Across the ballroom, two men in black suits raised their weapons. The music stopped. Guests screamed. The guards moved fast, straight toward the center of the room, straight toward her, but just as panic broke out, the janitor stepped forward, shielding her with his body. His eyes, calm, calculating, locked onto the gunman. No hesitation, no fear, only precision. "Back away from her," he said, his voice like steel wrapped in gravel. One of the gunmen hesitated, the other didn't. In a flash, the janitor twisted, knocking over the mop bucket and kicking it straight into the path of the first shot. The water splashed across the floor, forcing the nearest guard to slip. At the same time, he grabbed a metal tray from a nearby table and hurled it like a discus, striking the second gunman square in the wrist. The pistol flew, guests ducked and screamed, chaos erupted. But in the center of it all, he moved like a man who'd done this before, who had trained for moments exactly like this. Within seconds, both attackers were on the ground, one groaning in pain, the other unconscious. The room fell silent again, not in fear, but in shock. The janitor stood tall, breathing slow, his chest rising and falling under the thin fabric of a uniform that now looked more like a disguise than workwear. The woman beside him stared in disbelief. Who are you?" she asked, voice shaking. His eyes softened. "Just a single dad, looking after more than just my daughter." That's when the guests started to recognize him. Whispers shot through the room. "That's not a janitor. I've seen him before. Wait, is that—" He didn't wait for questions. He knelt down, disarmed the second gunman, and pulled a comms device from his pocket. "Code green. Threat neutralized. Get extraction on standby." Somewhere, someone answered, but he wasn't talking to the ballroom anymore. He was talking to someone above their clearance. The CEO, tears streaming down her face, finally realized what had just happened. She had been targeted. Executives don't like to admit how many enemies they have, but this one had made too many, and her company's quiet janitor had just saved her life. Nobody at the company knew who Nathan Cole really was. They just saw him as the big guy who cleaned up after hours, always polite, always quiet. A widower, a single father to a 9-year-old girl. He never talked about his past. But 10 years ago, he was a Tier 1 operator. Special Forces, Black Ops, off-the-books missions in hostile territory. After losing his wife in a car accident, he disappeared from the system. Until a private security firm reached out with a different kind of mission. Quiet protection in plain sight. Corporate protection, embedded detail. No uniforms, no clearance badges. Just mop buckets and muscle. He said yes, only because the job kept his daughter safe and his heart away from war. Tonight was supposed to be a celebration, an annual gala for the company's top investors. The CEO, young, brilliant, and politically tangled, was already on several hit lists. The security team was meant to sweep the ballroom. But they missed the real threat. Only Nathan saw it coming, and only Nathan acted fast enough. Now the agents who had burst in, pretending to be security, were in handcuffs. Real federal agents were swarming in, and Nathan, still dressed like a janitor, stood in the center of it all like the eye of a storm. The guests parted as he walked out, the CEO beside him, her hand still holding his. "You never were a janitor, were you?" she asked quietly. "I was," he replied with a small smile. "But I never stopped being a protector. We often overlook the people who walk quietly through our lives, the ones who sweep floors, pour coffee, or stand silently in the background. But sometimes, they're not just employees, they're shields, guardians, warriors in disguise. Nathan Cole didn't wear a badge. He didn't ask for thanks. He just did what protectors do. He stood between danger and someone who never even knew they needed saving. Not for glory, not for applause, but because that's who he was, a single dad and a silent force. And when the moment came, he didn't hesitate. He revealed who he truly was, not with words, but with action. Before we end this story, let us know in the comment, where are you watching from? If this story moved you, don't forget to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe for more powerful stories like this one. You never know, the next one might just change your life.